Hello and welcome to this part 17 of my series on building my own magic set. And this time I'm going to be talking about the black rares and mythics that didn't belong to the cycles from part 14, which would be the first three rares here and the first mythic here. So again, as mentioned on the previous parts, I didn't follow the Crimson Vow here, the skeleton here. Instead, I just looked at various themes I wanted in the set and various, maybe underplayed mechanics that the black might have. Although, as I look at it, I might have overemphasized certain things. Like I don't know why I didn't notice that I have actually three 3/1 creatures here. But then again, I think those are all fine. Anyway, as I probably mentioned in the black commons and black uncommons, black is definitely my favorite color. So I probably expect more from myself in this specific part. And yeah, I do have some nice ideas here. Some maybe less so. So first, persistent Shade, which is a Shade 1B 3/1, and whenever you surveil, you may cast card name from your graveyard. This is a common theme for black to have these persistent rare creatures which have high power, low toughness. The toughness doesn't really matter because you can recast it anyhow most of the time. So here the limitation is you have to surveil. Reminiscent of like Skyclave Shade, which you can replay on landfall, although it also has kicker. Do I dare to? Yes, I do dare. So from your graveyard, okay, if this card is played from your graveyard, was played from your graveyard. From your graveyard, put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of cards surveilled into your game this turn. Again, like in so many other cases, I do want to make it sort of difficult that you have to think about whether you want to put a specific card into your graveyard or would you rather pump this Shade. But yeah, just make the decision a little bit worse, a little bit more difficult. Then Greedy Sneak, Rat Rogue, 2B. I really like the Nezumi, so that's why I have so many rats here. It's a 2B 3/1, and whenever you surveil a card into your graveyard, you may pay 4 life to put that card into your hand instead. I wanted to have like card draw, link to surveil, but I didn't want to make it easy. 4 life might be a bit too much. But then again, you get to make the decision that which cards do you want to put into your hand this way. And you can still, if you don't want to pay the life, but you want the card, you can still leave it on top of your library anyway. So you just have to wait for a turn. But if you're desperate, then why not? And even if you're not desperate, you might still want the edge. Like Sylvan Library is still played in Legacy, I think. Haven't seen any Legacy tournaments or haven't played Legacy in years. But yeah, I did just want something that, surveil, you can turn surveil into a draw but it's just painful. Then Gleeful Carnage's instant 1BB. So this is a mandatory rare creature removal. So destroy target creature. So this is murder with an upside. If you have surveilled a creature to your graveyard this turn, you may destroy 2 target creatures instead. Let's add the instead here. Sorry that I'm making so many. I don't know. That was the second card I edited while talking about it. But anyway, so next, Tattered Wings, Aura, 1BB, instant creature. Creature gets +X where X is the number of creature cards in all graveyards. When you surveil enchanted creature gains flying until the end of turn. If card name becomes unattached, it becomes an XX horror creature where X is the number of creatures in all graveyards. It has whenever you survey a card name gains flying until the end of turn. So this is largely based on or inspired by I think it's called Night Howler from the original Theros block, and the mechanic of the enchantment mechanic from that set, where you could play a creature as an enchantment, and when it becomes unattached, it becomes a creature. But here, okay, you still need the creature. But yeah, Night Howler did pretty much the same thing. Not sure. It was much more expensive to cast, especially to. I think it's Bestow is the mechanic. Yeah, Bestow. But then again, you can't cast this on its own. You need that creature to be able to cast it. I don't know. Also, I guess another thing here with sort of inspiration is it called Demonic Wings, which was from the last core set, which was 1BB and gave +3/+1 and flying, and you could play it from your graveyard by paying 3 life and discarding a card. Yeah, then a Skillful Brawler, Rat Assassin, 200B, 3/1, and first strike. So this is something I thought about. So black doesn't get first strike very often, but when it does, it's for like a specific reason. Like there's some creatures that play out in a very specific way because they have first strike and death touch, for example. And of course, in some cases, like black creatures get first strike because they are mirrored pairs to certain white cards. That was in the past, like Black Knight or Order of the Ebon Hand and whatever, which had white counterparts. I did want to, but well, these days it's usually only rare creatures black creatures that gain first strike, and that doesn't even happen that often. But yeah, so okay, I want to give this first strike, and I want to give it first strike for a specific reason. I just didn't know at that point what the reason was. I don't know, like maybe you shouldn't do it. Maybe you shouldn't be designing cards this way, but I don't know. I wanted to do it. So I was thinking about, okay, so what can that specific reason be? So I took a look at all the, like I read the Black article on MTG Wiki, and one of the less used mechanics in Black is removing counters on something. Like sure, some cards do it, like Heartless Act does it, and then there's the like a vampire from some commander set which can steal a bunch of counters from various things. And And then there's from like the original Zendikar, there's the vampire that just removes all counters on a uh, certain permanent, which can be used with Dark Death's combo or with Dark Death's to combo. So okay, so I thought that this, when it deals combat damage to a creature, so you can either remove all counters on that creature, destroy all auras attached to that creature, or unattach all equipment from the creature. So basically, it's hard to. So the idea here was that if the opponent is able to make something big by giving it counters or enchantments or equipment, they won't be helpful against this because this can get rid of them. And because it has first strike, it can get rid of them before that other creature can deal damage to this one. So I mean, these abilities will often be meaningless. But at the same time, I don't. That's not necessarily the point. Yeah. But anyway, that was the idea. I just, it probably won't play out very well. Except that being a 3/1 first strike is in itself quite powerful and can limit your opponent's opportunities to attack quite a bit, which isn't a good thing. But yeah, it's just, it's more of a Christmas wonderland that the ability actually is meaningful. But when it is, on the other hand, it's rare, so you can have cards like this. Yeah, then Eater of Possibilities, a horror, 2 BB, 5/5, and Sword, pay 3 life, and trample. And whenever you surveil or scry, put a +1/+1 counter on card name instead. And whenever an opponent surveils or scries, yeah, you lose 1 life. So yeah, this, like if you're looking to smooth out your draws and you have this in play, it won't happen. This will grow, but it will just, eat your options. So that's why it's Eater of Possibilities. Might be a little bit too big at 4 mana 5/5. We see like big creatures kind of regularly black these days. But at the same time, because it can also grow, it might be perhaps a little bit too much. Yeah. Of course, in this set, there's not a lot of scrying. I think there's 1 card that does that. But anyway, it still stops that because it is a green, evergreen nowadays. Then Grim Arrival, instant 2B. Return target creature that was surveilled into the graveyard is turned into the battlefield under your control. Put ward, discard a card, counter on it. So this was inspired by a card again. There was something that if something died, you could return it immediately. I think it's called Grim Return. You could return it to the battlefield immediately. But this isn't it. So this is similar, but since the ability is so much harder to use, although I did give you the added opportunity of animating something that your opponent controls or something from your opponent's graveyard. But anyway, so I just put the extra ward ability on that creature. Yeah. And also I did want to have like a rare reanimation spell. I do have 1 uncommon reanimation spell. well, which can return up to 3 creatures with total mana cost 6 or less to the battlefield and so forth. But onto the mythics. So Mists of Undead enchantment 5 BP. As an additional cost, and exile a non-token creature you control and put an undead counter on it. When it enters the battlefield, its opponent exiles exiles a non-token creature they control and put an undead counter on them. Then you may return card name to your hand or create a token copy of each creature in exile with an undead counter on it. Those creatures are black in addition to other cards and zombies in addition to the other types. I think this is the longest text I have. Maybe, I'm not sure. But yeah, so you can recast this number of times and just to, get rid of creatures on the battlefield, or you can just, get rid of some creatures on the battlefield and then return those as tokens. But it does cost huge amounts of mana. But so the other thing is that if you have multiples of these, which hopefully doesn't happen in limited, and that obviously can't happen in like commander, or if you can like return this to your hand through some other way, then you can actually create several token copies of those creatures if things go your way, basically. They have a lot of text here. I don't know if it's at all balanced. Then demonic understanding, sorcery, XBB. I don't know. I think I'm forgetting a card, and I did try to check this as well. But I do have a feeling that there is a card that does something similar. But so what this does is search your library for any number of non-land cards with different mana values and mana values equal or below X. I don't know why I added the non-land part. If you're willing to pay 3 mana to find a land, then why not? And obviously, yeah, it's a tutor, so you have to supple your library afterwards or whatever, and you have to show this to your opponent so that you don't cheat. But you can, for 5 mana, you can find possibly 3 cards, and but they're going to be, well, you can find, I don't know, Ornithopter hand to removal spells, and so forth. You can go up quite a bit. So in that sense, it might be powerful in like commander, where you might possibly have a lot of mana. Yeah, probably not very usable in most circumstances. Like in limited, because it's still in limited, you might not want 1-drops in your deck, or they might not be very usable in the late game. So yeah, unless you have something like Fatal Push. But okay, yeah. So again, that was like part of the thing that I wanted to have a tutor in the set, and so this is what I came up with. I did also want to have a demon, but that specific demon happens to be blue black. No, red black. And so I didn't put one in the black cards. I think it's here. Oh, it's still unnamed legendary demon. 3 black red 6/6 flying trample. Whenever you sway card into graveyard with mana value other than 0, destroy all non-demon permanents of that mana value. You lose 1 life for each permanent destroyed this way. Yeah. So that felt kind of demonic. So yeah, I think I have fewer creatures here than the other colors, but now roughly the same number. Doesn't matter anyhow. Because these won't affect the drafting experience that much. But yeah, that's it for the black. And thanks for listening. If you're up to it, do all the YouTube things, and I'll see you with red whenever I can get it done.